welcome back to a brand new, welcome to a brand new Five Heart Podcast live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. I'm your host, Greg Mahochko. Joining me, the co-host, co-pilot, my great friend, Minnie Hunt. Hello, Minnie. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. And I love how, Greg, seriously, I love how I keep getting bumped up a notch, every week. I started off as your nemesis. And now I'm your great friend. That's awesome. Thank you.
I don't think I ever used the word nemesis.
You did. You did.
No, thorn in my side. It's different. Minnie, why don't you introduce our guest? He's no stranger to the Five Heart podcast, but you had tried for weeks and weeks to get him on Monday Night Therapy, and it's like, you know what? Monday nights just don't work for me, so let's try Thursday. So introduce our esteemed colleague.
Well, this is Brian Johannes. He actually is the reason that I'm probably here.
What?
Because I used to watch his videos and consume them like crazy. He would put together the best film on any of our incoming recruits or incoming transfers. And I just loved watching him. So I reached out to him one day and he said, "Oh, I write for Coronation. And I think you also do an NFL, the huddle or something, right?"
Yeah, the huddle report is kind of solely where I'm at right now. Life just got too busy. I was spreading myself thin. And so the draft is where that's where I make my hay. And so the huddle report is where you'll find my mock drafts.
Nice. Yeah, you've put together quite an array, though, of incoming transfers and for Nebraska. So that's why I was dying to have you on to talk about the show.
That's right. And Brian, just full disclosure, I have not watched nearly as many of your videos as Minnie has. But to all of our Holgormaniacs out there, you can make sure because there's really solid. We're going to talk about a lot of the transfer portal acquisitions that Nebraska has added, and you can check out some really great in-depth videos breaking down some of these players over on Brian's YouTube channel. That is at @draft_Brian. So don't leave this show to go do it. When this show's over, make sure you go and you subscribe to Brian's YouTube channel so that you're always kept in the know whenever a new episode drops for Brian, just like you do for us, and we appreciate that as well. So, Brian, it's been a busy offseason for Nebraska as far as the transfer portal is concerned. A lot of talent is coming to Lincoln, and I don't know exactly how Minnie intended this conversation to go, but let's start at the player, I guess, that you're most excited to see in a Nebraska game.
Yeah.
The guy that out of all the transfers, the guy that I'm most excited for, I think, is Dasan McCullough, the linebacker from Oklahoma. I think out of all the guys that I watched, he's the one that kind of jumped out to me the most. Just his versatility, just his play style. And I think he's going to give Nebraska, especially if they have a plan for him, that's the key. I think he can be an impact player for him.
He's going to be playing edge, right?
I don't know to be honest. Because in the video I talked about, he could kind of play a multitude of different positions. He could be like a stacked linebacker, kind of like Javin Wright has been, former nickelback, safety, whatever he was when he first came. Kind of Rhule and Tony White put him in at that stacked linebacker, and he played really well that first year. Last year he had those injuries. I could see him replacing Gifford as that rover position, and then I could also see him replacing MJ Sherman. So he's very versatile. He's long. He's 6'5". He's real thin, but he plays real physical, which I really enjoyed.
He's from Oklahoma, right?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited about him too. How big is he? Do you remember?
I think he's 6'5". I'd have to look. 6'5". I think he's like 220 or something.
Okay. Because I was wondering about James Williams being replaced.
Yeah, they didn't really go out. I think you're going to see guys. I mean, he can rush off the edge. I just don't know if he's going to be that play in and play out edge type guy. I guess James Williams wasn't either. He's 6'5", 235. So I think they're going to look at a guy like maybe Dasan Merritt to kind of be that guy, and maybe hopefully some of those other guys can too. But I don't know if I think he's going to be kind of a Swiss Army knife, kind of like maybe what Isaiah Simmons was for Clemson several years back.
That's oddly enough. Brian James Boardman says that he's a Swiss Army knife. So I don't know if you were reading the comments, if you can see them on the side, but
great minds think alike.
Yeah, and James Boardman is elite as far as the Holgormaniacs. They're all elite. I just want to say they're all elite. We have no favorite children here on Thursday nights, right, Minnie?
Maybe some.
Okay.
That don't give me a hard time. That don't say things like, "Oh, great, one more to stock," Melissa.
What is? I guess would you say that offensive line was the biggest area of need heading into the offseason as far as either recruiting the more traditional way out of high school or more specifically in the transfer portal, especially when they say in the Big Ten, as far as it goes, the offensive line, get old, stay old.
Yeah, I definitely think that was one of the areas. You could always use pass rushers, pass protectors, and of course the throwers of the football. But tackle is one area that I always want to see. It seems like Nebraska has done really well to fill the interior of their offensive line. But they really haven't had, because, when we think about it, Cochran went down, Prohaska went down. Well, we had Ben Hart, but it's like, who's going to be the guy? And Galuda came in, and I thought he played pretty well. I think he might be better served inside, and that's kind of one of those concerns I always have is all of our tackles seem to be better inside, which is not always the greatest thing. So I think getting a guy like Elijah Pritchett was a good get for them, a guy that had started, for Alabama in the SEC, to get him. I think that was a big thing. And I think they would have loved to get the Nevada transfer that ended up going to Oregon. And there's the New Mexico guy that went to Kentucky. I think they wanted to get both of them to have a left tackle and a right tackle. But I think at least getting Pritchett was pretty big.
It was. That definitely was. And somebody said, at least the Notre Dame guy doesn't spread diseases. But honestly, that's behind us. Let's move on because Elijah Pritchett is
allegedly
a Husker.
Do we have to say allegedly? So,
I mean, come on, guys.
I do feel like some things you can put behind you, and some things require penicillin. So we just don't know. We don't know. But you're right. You mentioned Pritchett. Rocco Spindler also committed earlier this week as well. I guess my question is there going to be a new Husker, or is there going to be someone who was on the roster last year who's going to fill in for Ben Scott?
I don't know at this point. I haven't heard much if they're going to be adding anybody else. I think they're probably at this point. I think most guys that are going to come in and be starters are probably already have entered the portal and picked teams. We have Justin Evans, who played a little center, I think last year when Ben Scott got hurt. I think he's a possibility. Sam Sledge was listed as the backup all season, and you seem to hear his name a lot, especially in the coaches' talk. So I think between one of those two guys, you got Henry Latofsky at one guard, Spindler probably at the other, and then they've got a lot of young guys coming up that we just maybe really haven't seen yet. that who knows, maybe they come out in the spring and really, show something. You got the Grant Brickses and those guys that were redshirting last year. So, like I said, I think the interior is pretty well set. I was a little surprised that they got a guard, but I think they just wanted some, like you said, stay old and get a veteran just to have that inside. And we kind of curious to see how, because Spindler played right guard. That's where Latovsky's always played. Who's going to move? And then what are they going to do? Is Pritchett going to be the left tackle, or are they going to keep him on the right side?
Brian, it's important to provide a disclaimer for our Holgormaniacs, which is the name that we have bestowed upon our comment section. I got to ask, Brian, did you ever watch Ted Lasso?
Yes, actually, just recently.
Tremendous. So you know that anytime there's a live broadcast, whether it's a AFC Richmond game or the football Saturday or whatever, the weekend show, anytime there's some coarse language, the announcer will say, "We apologize for the fruity language." So we have to apologize for Fred. Basically, Fred says that Pritchett has issues if the quarterback uses the clap on the snap count.
Jeez.
And then Fred says, "Here's where Greg says, don't read Fred comments."
Fred's probably the other reason why I'm here. There's a two-part because Fred is so much fun. He's entertaining.
He's our very own Roy Kent. We apologize for pretty much everything he says. So we've addressed some needs. I still feel like, I love the fact you mentioned Dasan Merritt. Is Dasan Merritt a day one guy? Is he a guy that's going to start as a true freshman?
I don't know if he's going to start, just because I don't think he's going to start. I think he's probably going to be a guy. We mentioned James Williams earlier, kind of come in and be a pass rushing specialist. I think he's going to kind of have a situational role early and then wait and see. It's hard to say. It's hard to say which true freshmen are going to come in right away, day one, and be impact players. He looks like a guy, anytime you steal a recruit away from Alabama, whether it's Nick Saban or Kalen DeBoer coaching, it's still a big deal. And, he's going to be that kind of edge rusher, the speed guy off the edge. So, they need someone to replace MJ Sherman. Prince, I always get it, the two brothers, Prince Well, because his older brother's in the draft. So I'm getting the two mixed up.
Melon, right? How do you say that last name? Like that?
Sure. Go with it. So they need someone in that jack position who's kind of been more of a, since we started to see them running more of a 4-man front later in the season. I think when Butler had a little bit more influence. Mm-hmm. And then even in the bowl game, when Butler was the defensive coordinator, they ran more of a 4 front. So it'll be kind of curious. I don't think he's a true edge, like defensive end guy. I think he's more of like an outside linebacker guy. So I'll just be kind of curious to see, what Butler's defense even looks like.
Yes, I'm very curious too, especially with all these new defensive coaches.
And I was going to say the unfortunate part is we're not really going to get a true spring game to, really have any idea. So we're all going to be going into the Arrowhead Stadium against Cincinnati, just kind of shrug his shoulders and hope for the best.
Yes, for sure. Hey, that's a good, let's throw that up.
Let's throw that up. Carl Pence wants to know, can we please discuss our losses, our attrition, as well as our addition, give an accurate position-by-position breakdown? Us Husker fans want to know if the roster – I don't know if that's something we can do. Brian, you're gracing us with a little bit of time, but I feel like this is something that, could almost be its own show.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest two areas that really turned over the most really was defensive line and the receiving room. Otherwise, we lost Dowdell, but you got Emmett Johnson's coming back. Offensive line, we lost some guys, but heck, we might not. Prohaska and Cochran still might be back next year. Linebackers are, other than Bullock, So I think defensive line and wide receiver, as much as I didn't like Prince Well leaving because I thought he was a guy that kind of had potential. James Williams, you didn't want to see him leave. The guy that I was really bummed that left was oh gosh, now I'm spacing on his number 10. Why am I spacing on his name?
Jamari Butler.
Jamari Butler. I kept wanting to say Javin right. Jamari Butler is the one I think it was the biggest hit. But I mean, we've got hopefully Williams Nwaneri, the Missouri transfer, the former 5-star, will be able to kind of fulfill that role. You got Keona Davis, who played well in the bowl game. You got Cam Lenhart, hopefully can be healthy. So, a lot of those guys, James Williams had a big game against, what was it, Rutgers or somebody to kind of seal the game. But there was lots of times those guys were just a lot of potential, and they hadn't really fully reached that potential. And maybe they'll do that at their new school, but I think they'll be fine. I think losing Ty and Nash inside is going to hurt, but I think they're going to
I want to know. No, I just want to know who's going to replace them.
I think Van Poppel. I liked him.
Okay.
He played 4 games. I thought he played well in those 4 games. They used him strategically against Iowa and some of those run heavy teams. I think maybe Rutgers as well. And I thought he played. I mean, it's going to be hard to replace Nash and Ty, and Van Poppel's not going to do that. I mean, maybe he will, but I think he's a good player. I thought, the Elijah Judy played well at times. And then you have some young guys coming up. Sefu, you've heard his name a lot. You haven't seen him much out there. So, Jaylen.
Sincere? Is that his name?
Was it?
Sincere Cephalua.
I think we're thinking of 2 different people.
Okay.
I think he's like a redshirt freshman.
Oh.
Let's see here, but and then you even got Jaylen George in the portal, guy from East Tennessee. I think he's more of a penetrator. I think he's a guy that's going to play a little D end, a little, a little maybe 3 technique. A lot of flashes on tape for my video, but I think he's definitely another guy that can, come in and be a body. We're going to have to replace Ty and Nash, not with 1 or 2 people. It's going to have to be a committee, and I think they got some pieces in there. Sua Lafatu. That's who I was thinking of.
Sua Lafatu.
6'3", 295, redshirt freshman from Bellflower, California. Went to St. John Bosco.
Ooh.
Carl says, Brian, I have to disagree with you. I think the O-line and our special teams is a complete shit show and needs major improvement.
Well,
really? Come on now.
I mean, the line played well at times. I mean, it wasn't great, but we also had you had Galuda in there as a redshirt freshman, just thrown out to the wolves. And yeah, I'm not saying it was fantastic, but those are when I said receiving room and defensive line, those are the ones that I think got flipped the most.
The defensive line did. I mean, geez, we lost like 7 or 8 seniors. It's a lot. 6, I think. So, on defense. But we did get Andrew Marshall, and I watched your video on him, and you said, well, I'm not so sure he's going to be a starter. I don't know if he's going to contribute on special teams. But that was before we got Mike Ekeler. How do you feel about it now?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he was a guy that when I watched him on tape for Idaho, I liked what I saw, but to me, he didn't look like a guy that was going to come in and start. I think he was more of a depth guy, and I could very well be wrong, and I'd be happy to be wrong, but he just didn't. There was times, against Oregon, he gave up some receptions. He was fine, but we got Sierra Wright, we got a couple of those other guys, so I think he's more of just a depth guy.
I was kind of hoping he'd be the guy that would score a couple touchdowns on.
I mean, he could definitely be the return guy. I mean, he had 2 or 3 return touchdowns. I know in my video
Mhm.
I highlighted a kickoff return for a touchdown. I think a punt return for a touchdown and another long kick. So we definitely need a little bit of juice in that return game. I think part of that was I think Barney could do fine in a role there, but sometimes some guys are just better at it and they just see things like when you think of Devin Hester or you think of DeJuan Gross, those guys just saw stuff happening and just had that natural feel for it. And Marshall, I mean, he's got that experience and he might have it. So we just got to get better blocking. And I think I'm really excited for Mike Ekeler.
Me too. That's probably the most excited I am about anybody coming in.
Pitt Snipe Husker is very excited about Ekeler. Says Ekeler full Husk. Folks, if you ain't seen it, Ekeler on Bussin' with the Boys is well worth your time. It's on YouTube.
Is that new or is that like an old one?
I'd have to ask Pitt on that one.
Okay.
Pitt, answer that question for us. I'm guessing it's probably new. Speaking of YouTube, Brian, our guest here tonight, has his own YouTube channel. So you make sure you subscribe to Draft_Brian. Oh, he says it's a couple years old.
Oh, okay. Well, still.
But I mean, there's that picture of him at K-State with almost entire, eye black on, and just the guy just oozes intensity. So, Fred, don't start. Don't take that one.
I showed that picture to my wife the other day, and I said, "Hey, here's our new special teams coordinator." And she had no words.
I like how he even used eye black on his mohawk. That's dedicated.
I swear, this is what we need on special teams.
I envision in practice they're doing like say kickoff unit, and I could see him just getting mad at someone and hopping in there and running full speed and hitting guys that have pads on. That's what I envision Mike Ekeler at practice.
Brian, can we just go back to the days of these massive shoulder pads?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm older, so I don't know anything different than the big heavy. I remember my helmet in high school was like the old Riddell helmet, and it was just so heavy. Nowadays they're probably light as a feather.
Mm-hmm. And allegedly safer. So, yeah, this guy looks nuts. This is the guy who you don't run through the brick wall for. Like, he pushes you through the brick wall.
Looks like a heck of a
play for him.
He looks like an old school WWE tag team wrestler.
Yes, he looks like one half of the Road
There
Warriors.
you guys go. Come on.
Now we're out of not in Minnie's wheelhouse anymore.
Mm-mm.
She's not ready to talk about it. Minnie, sometime I want you to do a Google image search for type in WWF demolition.
Okay.
Honestly, if you could Greggle it right now so we could just see your reaction live, that'd be great.
Really?
WWF demolition. And we're gonna. It's fine. It's safe. It's normal. It was the 1980s and 90s.
Oh my gosh. It's like Kiss and I don't know what. I mean, wrestlers.
Just a little bit of bondage. It's fine.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Now you can't unsee it.
Yeah. What are they, brothers?
No, they're not actually brothers. Few tag teams were brothers. By the way, this internet search brought to you by Greggle, the official search engine of the 5 Hour Podcast. Yeah. Sorry about that, Brian.
It's all right.
Brian, I don't know. I know you said you had X amount of time to give us, so I don't want to be disrespectful every time. I mean, Minnie, did you have anything else for Brian? Or anything else about the transfer?
Okay, one other question before you leave. Carl Pence asked a good question, and I was wondering the same thing after he asked. He said, how about trying Key on kick returns? Probably not, because he's so valuable as a receiver, right?
I mean, I don't know. Is the couple games that I watched when I did his video, I didn't see him doing any kick returns. To me, and so maybe he has, and I don't want to speak out of turn because I didn't see that. But he didn't, to me, look like a return guy, because the guy I compare him the most to is Jamal Banks, more of the physical receiver. So, but like, I don't know. I mean, sometimes you get those guys on kick returns, and I mean, heck, Ohio State had their star safety returning punts, and he's one of the best guys in the nation. So, but yeah, like I said, he reminds me a lot of Jamal Banks, maybe a little bit more athletic Jamal Banks. So I don't know how well
Jamal Banks. He was my favorite.
Before we let you go, couple quick ones, and then one that's maybe requires just a nugget of brain power. James Borman says we really need a quarterback, and Fred agrees.
You can answer that. No, Brian, answer that, please.
No. He said,
let's get a voice of reason in here.
Fred agrees and said we put our best quarterback at tight end. I'm very concerned about the quarterback.
They love to give me a hard time because I'm a Dylan fan.
Okay, time out for a second.
Time out.
Are there seriously Husker fans out there that don't like Dylan Raiola?
No, they're giving me a hard time.
Okay.
Don't fall for it.
But
I try not to.
I know we have a few crazies in our every fan base does, but is there? I mean, I'm not following the interwebs as much.
He kisses babies. He signs little kids' caps. Like he's awesome.
I mean, I think they all
leave him alone.
I think if Heinrich Haarberg started in 2024, we win 2 more games.
Can we just get over this? Oh my gosh.
I'll tell you this. I do want to admit this. I have been a vocal critic of Haarberg playing other positions. I just didn't see the athlete. I did not like when they brought him in to run the ball on that. He played really well at tight end in the bowl game. Like he played really well, and I'm eating words. I'm eating crow. It doesn't taste good, but I'm eating it. But I'm really excited about Haarberg at tight end. I think having him there full time, I think his skill set, is pretty good at tight end. So I'm pretty excited for him there.
Kaylee's back and says, "We like Dylan ... for now."
Come on.
That is menacing and foreboding. And then I have one more question. Then we'll let you get out of here. And I apologize for the time that you said about 15 or 20 minutes. Is there anyone that Nebraska acquired through the transfer portal who is unlikely to be here in the fall?
You got to look at those. There's a couple guys we just don't know about. I mean, you look at a couple years ago, we got Jacob Hood from Georgia, massive offensive tackle, and never saw the field. Mm-hmm. He's gone now. So that's a possibility. We got the defensive tackle from Mississippi State that had a red shirt and then took a year off because of a medical reason. Wouldn't shock me if that happened. You got to think about, we got to cut down to 105, and there's still like 25, 30 guys yet to go. And that defensive backfield, I think that's the right word. It's big. And you've got the Georgia transfer. You've got Andrew Marshall. They've already, the one guy from Arizona lasted 2 days and he was gone. So good thing I didn't do a video on him.
Yeah. That kind of ticked me off.
And so, well, I mean, if you some of the big Husker channels out there alluded to some potential issues. So I don't know the details of that, so I don't want to go into it. But it sounds like he left. It was a mutual decision to leave. So
yeah. Was this the guy that was partying? Who's the guy that lasted 2 days up in Jed Fish's?
Well, this guy came from Arizona, so he had started at A&M,
yeah.
went to Louisville, went
That's
to Arizona,
right.
and
That's right.
and now he's going back. So
Yeah. No, there was that one transfer that put his name out there that I guess decided to part ways with Washington after 2 days. Do you remember who that was? Oh.
I don't.
Because of his partying. He didn't show up for any practices either.
I heard that's important.
Yeah.
How you develop as a player.
Arizona people are not the worst. Come on. See? Well, Brian, are you planning on going to any games this next season?
Well, I am no longer allowed to go to any Illinois games because I'm 0 for 2. I like the friendly confines of my own home for games. That way I've got long legs and stadium areas are not good for me.
Mm-hmm.
We sat in South Stadium for the Illinois game, and it was tight. So I took my daughters. They enjoyed it. One of them was the first time she's been to a game. I liked it better when I was in the student section and you stood and you had your room. Now I'm sitting like all sideways and hunched over, and I've got a backache. I'm old, but
How old are you?
Show, I promise
You're not old. You're not old. Did you say he's not the oldest person on this show?
Yeah, because I'm assuming that I'm older than he is. We don't need to get into numbers, but I've got more gray hair. I can tell you that much.
I mean, my daughters are giving me a lot, so
yeah,
they do. Oh, that's so fun. You have a daughter in softball and one in basketball, right?
2 in softball and 1 plays basketball.
Okay.
And they're on different softball teams. So
that's the worst.
So
well,
the Huskers won today in softball, I saw.
They did. We're gonna talk, but they beat number 6 Tennessee, something like 7-1. So it was a solid outing for them. Brian, we appreciate you joining us here for the first portion of the show, and we remind all of you viewers out there, or if you happen to across this on the audio only version of the show, which is bonkers that I know it exists. I'm the reason it exists, but it's just the live interactive version is so much more fun. Make sure that you head over to YouTube and type in draft_Brian and subscribe to Brian's channel for just great content. Again, a lot of breakdowns of transfer portal players. What else will they be able to find over there, Brian?
The big thing I do there, besides the Husker transfer portal, you'll see a lot of my NFL draft coverage. I'm big on the prospect breakdowns, so you'll see a lot of those, especially coming up soon. But I'll have a mock draft. My first NFL mock draft will come out early next week, so I'll do a video up there as well. Just different draft takes and that. But the big thing is those prospect breakdowns. So I will have eventually probably a Tommy Hill, a Thomas Fidone. Who else is Ty Robinson, Nash. I'll get all the guys that are have a shot to get drafted. I'll do full breakdowns on them, but then all the top prospects. So, just recently, Mike Green, the pass rusher from Marshall, he's a fun watch. Jalen Walker from Georgia, Kenneth Grant from Michigan. So it's big, especially. Whatever NFL team you're a fan of, once the draft comes, you can go look and say, oh, my team took this player in the first round. What am I getting? And you can go watch a 10-minute at most clip of different plays to kind of see what type of player they are.
Real quick before we go, maybe it's too early. Maybe it's giving something away that they might, have to subscribe for or something like that. But which Husker has – I don't say – I guess who – if you had to choose or guess, which Husker goes first in the draft, and why is it Ty Robinson?
I think Ty's clearly the best prospect. I shouldn't say that. For a while there, I thought it was going to be Tommy Hill, but injuries kind of zapped that. It's going to be Ty. I mean, he's got this. NFL is all about height, weight, and speed. And you got a guy that's 6'5". He's 300 pounds. He's quick. He's explosive. He's powerful. He's got production. So NFL teams are going to like him. He's probably going to be, and I haven't fully broken these guys down. I don't have draft grades on them yet, but from just watching them, he's probably going to be a 3rd, 4th round pick. Wouldn't shock me if he went a little bit higher, but he's not going to be a 1st round pick. I mean, I guess I can't say that now, but he's probably looking at day 2, early day 3. But yeah, he's going to be the first one I think taken.
I'm so excited about that. Okay, so when does the NFL draft start again?
The NFL draft starts.
April.
It's still a little ways away. It is. I just have it right here. The 24th of March. Oh, wait, no, January, February, April.
April 24th.
April
Oh my
24th.
gosh, that's really late.
That's. I mean, it's usually that time. Because they still have the combine to happen. That's late February. So, and then they got to do all the pro days and that. So, we got. Thankfully, we still have a lot of time because I got a lot of players to watch yet. So, we have 76 days till the draft.
That math checks out.
It's gonna be so good. So exciting. Well, okay, so we have how many guys going that have declared for the draft?
Well, you've got, let's see here. You've got Ty, you've got Fedoni, you got Tommy Hill, and then we have Nash, Ben Scott, Jamal Banks, and then you have guys like Gifford and Ben Hart who are in the draft. They'll probably might get camp tryouts or stuff like that.
Okay.
But, I mean, there's a healthy number. It looked like we were going to have a handful drafted, and then who knows? Tommy Hill's injury really kind of hurt his stock. And then I don't know if he's fully recovered. He did not have a good showing at the Senior Bowl, unfortunately. So
I just hope we have at least just one player.
Ty will be drafted.
Okay.
Fedoni, I don't know. There's a lot of people that think he will. Knee injuries. I mean, the NFL, I think a lot of people forget when you get to those late rounds, of the draft, they're taking flyers, and they're not going to take a flyer on a guy, So I could, Fedoni might go in the 5th round or that, but I mean, he did really well at the Senior Bowl. It's all going to come down to medicals for him. 2 knee surgeries. They want to make sure that he's healthy, and he's going to give him years, because if they don't feel like he's going to, have a short shelf life, they're not going to draft him. So, I mean, we've seen that guys that were thought to be Jawan Taylor, who's the Chiefs starting right tackle, was projected to be a top 10 pick and then went in the 2nd round, is because they were concerned about his knees. Jojo Doman, every draft analyst thought he was going to be like a 3rd or 4th round pick, and he goes undrafted, and it comes out that some teams had concerns about his knees. So
look at him now.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Fedoni. I feel bad because I feel like I'm just constantly crapping on the guy.
It's okay.
And it's not. I just, like, when I do my draft analysis, I try to take the homer out of it. I try to be objective and give my honest opinion. And
it's hard.
He's talented. He didn't have much production this past year. I think that was because of coaching usage. But the year that he did well with Harburg, they were running him down the field. He was running crossing routes, and this year they tried all these short routes to make him be agile. And I don't know. So he did well he's going to get invited to the combine. He'll get a chance to show off there. So, hopefully he gets drafted. We want as many Huskers drafted as we can.
Mm-hmm.
I just based off of what I've learned studying the draft for over 10 years, when you have multiple knee injuries, that does knock you pretty good. And it's a deep tight end draft too. There are a lot of good tight ends in this draft.
Oh, so I remember reading something not that long ago that said that the last time that we had a player drafted was like 2017, 26. What was it? Do you know off the top of your head?
Last time they had an offensive player drafted or total?
Just total.
Oh, I think they had someone last year was drafted, weren't they?
I don't think so.
I'm trying to think who was even in last year's draft. We had Omar. Yeah, maybe not. Let me look real quick. But we've had some guys, like Cam Jurgens and them have gone.
Trey Palmer.
Yeah, he was a 7th round pick a couple of years ago.
Okay, so 2023?
2023. 6th round, 14th in the 6th round.
Yeah, because last year was like Omar Brown and it was O'Shawn Mathis and Trey Palmer in 2023. Both of our transfer guys. So it's not been good. I thought we were going to have a lot like what it was in 2022 when we had Jurgens and Taylor Britt going in the 2nd round. I thought, maybe going into the season or especially after that Colorado game, Tommy Hill and Ty Robinson maybe going in that 2nd, 3rd round. It just doesn't happen sometimes.
Yeah. This will be interesting for sure. Yeah. Well, Brian, I'm so glad that you came on. Please come back and see us.
Yeah,
as often as you can.
Hopefully life settles down at some point and I have a thing called a break, but it is always fun coming on and talking. So
always welcome, Brian. Always welcome. And again, everybody, check out his YouTube channel, draft_Brian. And we now leave you, sir, to your regularly scheduled Thursday evening.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Brian.
Bye.
Minnie?
Yes.
What do we have next?
Greg, come on.
I mean, it's in the notes, but it's in the notes.
It's 1.5. It's basketball. How did we do last night with that super late game?
We won a game. We were down 10 at halftime.
Another one? Another one?
We won another game.
This is awesome. Good.
I like it. Yeah, we outscored the Huskies 24 by 24 points in the second half. So it was.
Because last I heard, we were down by 10 right before half, and it was so late. We had to shut it off. So we came back and we won. Wow.
And I believe I don't have the graphic or anything like that, but this past weekend, or maybe it was announced Monday, that Bryce Williams was named the Big Ten Player of the Week for the second time this season for last week. So, yeah. So they put together a nice little. They're 3 in a row. I saw it here. Hold on. Yeah, Melissa says 3 in a row. And it's we should. I mean, honestly, we should have beat Washington. We had the better record. I know. We have. I think we're putting together a decent resume. We have wins over Oregon, Creighton, a couple other ranked wins. So they have us on the bubble right now. They do technically have, Nebraska making the tournament at this point. We just have to, finish strong. I mean, there's still a lot of basketball left to be played this season. We can't afford another 6-game slide or our tournament chances are going down the shitter.
Oh, gosh, I know. I think perhaps they figured it out, Greg. They figured out what they needed to do to get all of our ducks in a row.
Oregon Ducks?
No. No, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can jump back on the bandwagon.
I'm ready.
Behind. Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's see. There was and we did mention the fact that the softball team did win today. James Boardman shared the info. I know Brian mentioned it, and I elaborate a little bit. So nice win over a quality opponent in number 6 ranked Tennessee. Wasn't as successful for the Husker women as they lost big at home to Michigan. This is from Husker Bob. I don't have scores or anything like that, but they lost at home to Michigan. And what Husker Bob claims is their second uninspired game in a row. 78-60. They were handled. We'll just say. Not ideal. Not ideal for Amy Williams and her squad. They lost the freshman of the Big Ten freshman of the year from last year to season-ending injury. So it's not the same team that we expected to see out on the floor. But still, it's, hope to rise above, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree. They do need a little inspiration.
And I'm playing catch up on the comments. All I see is Kaylee saying, "Get a room, you two." And I think she's talking to Fred.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So,
what do you not want to show the other comments?
I don't. I honestly, I don't know how far up. I don't know how far up to scroll to catch them all. So,
they're kind of funny. Okay. Well, Greg, how about we talk about this guy? Our new special teams coach. Finally, we have somebody. Now, I talked about him a little bit on Monday.
Okay.
Quite a bit, actually, because I'm so excited about him and his record. And let's see here. James Boardman was there to support all the facts.
Sounds like something
awesome. Yes, he is so good. He's on it. So what do you think about this new hire?
I'm intrigued by the guy's intensity. So I'm looking at his X account. His X account, it hasn't been updated to show,
really?
to reflect Nebraska yet. It still says outside linebacker, special teams coordinator for Tennessee, but his profile picture, for lack of a better term, is, I think this is from where he headbutted one of his players, like a celebratory, because it's just blood dripping down on his nose. And I'll be honest with you, that's what we need in Lincoln. We kind of heard Matt Rhule talk a little bit about it ahead of the Colorado game about how, like, hey, you know what? Let's put Nebraska nice on ice for a week. I want Nebraska nasty, I want someone to come in and be a little vicious, a lot more physical, a lot of that, up the intensity. I want a coach who's going to go headbutt a player, by the way, the player wearing a helmet. That gets me fired up.
For sure. And I think he's the guy to do it. Okay, Kaylee Bartle says, optimistic about this guy. He has given up one blocked kick field goal in 4 years in comparison to what we gave up just in one season.
Right. Or one game.
10 in one season.
I like what BFOTS Josh Hansen says. He's the right kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Intense.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see. And Melissa says he was good with Bo. I think that could have been a volatile, sideline with the two of them. I think that
I was wondering if anybody had any stories about that.
About just the two of them and how they worked.
Yeah.
Coincided?
Because this guy seems really headstrong, And I just wondered, like, how does he work with head coaches? Or do they let him do his thing? I'm curious. I was looking for information on the internet, but I couldn't find anything. You guys would probably know more than I do.
I'm sure there are anecdotes, but honestly, like, I guess my concern, I don't even want to call it a concern. I don't mind a coach who's going to get into a player's face, because I know that if he's going to get in their face to, like, course correction, not discipline, but, just like guide them with that intensity, he's also going to be the guy who's going to headbutt his player in celebration when he does something right. Like, I feel like this guy, is going to throw caution to the wind and just run, full octane, all the way. It's exciting. It's exciting.
I think he can turn our long snapper, which we already have, like, the best long snapper out there in the portal, coming to Nebraska. We have a great kicker. We also have a great backup kicker. Who knows which one that's going to be? We have an awesome punter coming. So we have the guys, but also we have hopefully some returners on special teams. This guy's the guy to get everyone whipped into shape. And go ahead.
As you say, Thizero with a great comment said, if smelling salts was a person. Have you ever smelled smelling salts? Like, have you ever been knocked out? They are potent. Like, it's something, if you smell smelling salts, you tend to remember it, unless you got hit so hard that you don't remember anything. But they're not, like, smelling salts are wild. I feel like this is going to break into a whole new, like, the Nebraska version of Chuck Norris facts. When Mike Ekeler cuts onions, the onions cry. And then I've got one here from James Boardman, says Tennessee had 1,320 return yards the last 4 years since 2015, so 10 years. Nebraska had 924. So
there you go.
Let's get this man to work, and let's get some productivity out of the special teams.
Yeah, for sure. We need it. I mean, it is the one thing. I mean, if we could change anything about 2024, I know, you want to talk about the offensive plays and such, and don't. Players as they are. Players as they are. Players as they are. Okay? We're not switching players anywhere. If we change one thing, special teams actually lost us games.
True. Even Melissa says true.
Thank you, Melissa.
I mean, I think Melissa's a few seconds behind, so in a minute she'll catch up.
she didn't know.
She'll agree.
All right. Well, that's all. That's it. We would have gotten to a better bowl game, although we wouldn't have gotten to see our guys playing in the mud. It was a lot of fun.
That's what we live for, sliding around in the mud and sliding a good 15 yards out, into the barricade on the sidelines, just because it's such a crappy field. So
when you were a kid, did you make mud pies?
Did I make mud pies?
Yeah, like after the rain.
Did I just go out and scoop up a bunch of mud for fun? No.
Yeah. Oh, I did.
No.
Oh, mud is fun.
Did your parents make you do your own laundry? Because that's what would happen in my house.
Well, I went out. I remember I had pictures of when I was a little kid. Yeah. Thank you, Kaylee. She says, who didn't? Yeah. In a bathing suit and with cousins and my brothers making mud pies and just having fun with mud. No? You didn't?
No.
Oh, come on.
And according to the
fun.
According to the chat, Melissa didn't. Carl didn't.
Guys,
Josh didn't, and
doubt.
got hosed off. That explains a lot, actually, about Josh. So I feel like sometimes Josh was treated like a farm animal. It's like, no, just go out there and hose off. Yeah, or like Tommy Boy, whichever. And how is there mud in Arizona?
After the rain, there's mud. We get rain here occasionally.
Pitt says, I did min.
Thank you.
I didn't
Thank
know.
you.
Calling you min now? Is that a thing?
Yeah, he can.
Okay. Oh, well. All right. Where are we going next? I'm not allowed to call you min, so Minnie.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so next we're going to talk about just a little. I'll get this off. Put us back like that. Okay.
Oh,
Tom Okay, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. But there was a very important question that was asked earlier, and I feel so bad that that it did. I didn't start it, but it was a very important question. Melissa wanted to know. Where the hell did it go? Oh, Melissa wanted to know, what's Greg drinking today? What's Greg drinking today? Whoa.
Nice. Why are you encouraging this?
Thank you, Melissa.
Why do people? I don't get it. We all know what you're drinking. Nobody's actually curious.
Melissa asked.
It would be so much better if you actually just sang it yourself live every time.
But then they wouldn't see the picture. Well, actually, hold on. It's not the same. All right, moving on. Where are we going next? You said Tom Osborne. We better talk about him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because he actually interviewed with KETV. And this is big, guys. We talked about it a little bit on Monday. But he said he has some uneasiness and called on the Big Ten and SEC to take the lead in establishing new national oversight over college football while the NCAA lacks enforcement power. What do you think about this?
He's not wrong. The NCAA essentially has been rendered impotent by talk about an organization that could use a nice order, a free month supply of Blue Chew. It's the NCAA. And all they have to do is go to bluechew.com and talk to their licensed medical professionals. And then a nice, discreet package would arrive at the offices there in Indianapolis. And they, too, could maybe take control of the situation. Anyway, I don't know. That was a bad one. Not my best work. But Tom Osborne's not wrong in the fact that with all of the money coming in, now the floodgates are open on paying the players, and there was no regulation in sight. And it's not a situation that you can put the toothpaste back in the tube. You cannot undo and try to regulate after the fact of what's been done. I really don't think, because and it's been said, I know we've said it here, it's been said in the comments, college football needs to just, for lack of better, I guess, separate itself from the NCAA, become its own entity with its own oversight. I guess it would have to, really, it would have to still maintain ties to the universities and but there's not going to be a simple fix. As soon as all of this money started being dumped into the sport, I love college football, but college football is out of control,
It is.
And I don't know. I'm not smart enough to have a solution. I don't think anybody is. I don't know. And again, we love it from the standpoint of being fans. And if we just watch the product on the field and didn't worry about anything else, that's okay. but everything else now is so you have nil collectives. Just it's
And
it's
then
become,
we have revenue sharing coming up as well. How is that going to affect football versus all the other sports? That's what I want to know.
I mean, do you take X amount? Let's say there's 375 athletes on campus.
Okay.
Does each of them get a same cut?
How can you do that?
Well, exactly. So every football player gets the same as every men's basketball player, which gets the same as every lacrosse for or women's field hockey, whatever it is. Not every program generates revenue equally. So I don't know how you divide it equally. Do you take the 23 sports, arbitrary number, and all right, everybody gets $1 million? Go. I mean, there's no way to distribute it. I have no idea. It's way above my pay grade.
Not only that, Greg, there are certain sports that have actually brought national titles to Nebraska, who have helped keep us on the map, like what Melissa's saying here. Volleyball. How is revenue sharing going to work for volleyball? They have a much smaller team, but they have contributed so much to the school. And then Carl Pence says NIL and no, you're okay. Is it okay that I read this?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Zero mentioned bowling. Women's bowling's been huge at Nebraska. I mean, they have that brand new facility that's amazing. But yeah, Carl, let's hit Carl's.
Carl says NIL and revenue sharing should be put into a trust, and a player should have to graduate before they collect. I mean, that is not a bad idea. I just don't know how you could enforce that.
Plus, you have the football players who play 3 years and are draft eligible. The Dylan Riolas, the ones who are higher profile. You have basketball players who similarly. I mean, you have. Let's face it, and I don't know if the. I mean, obviously the model is broken, but I don't know how you can. I don't know. Like I'm so proud of Cam Taylor-Britt, who came back and graduated a year or so back, maybe
just the spring. Yeah, just the spring.
So I mean, there's a way to do it, but what happens if? And then you have the transfer portal as another wrinkle. Do they get the revenue sharing from University A, and then they transfer, and now they get? I just have no idea.
Yeah, no, the transfer portal definitely throws a huge wrinkle in it. If you could deal with one issue at a time separately, for instance, take football away from the university having to do with that. So they're not doing revenue sharing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And only have it NIL, but have a cap on that. And then take each other item one by one. I think there's a way to solve this. You have to have rules. Right now, there are none. I mean, you can transfer 8 times.
Yeah.
How is that making you a student of anything?
It's not making me a student. I mean, well, never mind. That's a bad example. I'm 43 years old.
How old?
In insurance years, I'm 43. I'm 42. I'll be 43 in July. So
why is it different in insurance?
So actuaries go by your half birthday. So my birthday being July 5th, I turned 43 in insurance years on January 5th. So, because as now that we're in February, we're 5 months from my birthday, I'm closer to being 43 than I was to 42. So this is something else we could incorporate in the off season. Greg teaches one thing about life insurance every week. We'll see.
I don't want to know that. I don't think I want to be older than I am right now.
Well, the good news is you won't be until the end of March.
Is that my half birthday?
And your birthday the end of September?
Yeah.
Yeah. So get your life insurance now, because you'll have a rate change at the beginning of April.
Okay. Thank you. Not what I want to think about tonight at all.
Sorry. Well, let's take a look at some of these comments that are about the topic. And let's see. Fred says N.I.L should also be paid for performance. They're getting the money and not doing shit in some cases, then moving to another school and doing the same.
It's true. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, when we talk about like Matt Rhule's contract and how it's increasing, it's scaling up towards the back end of the contract. BFOTS, Josh Hansen says collective bargaining, rookie salary caps, earn your raises. It'll just be NFL light and lose all passion. Sorry, I'm old. This sucks. LOL.
How old is Josh?
He's older than me, younger than you. Sorry. No, he's about 9 months old. He's already, let's put it this way, he's already into his 43rd year. But he's not 43 and a half yet, so.
Okay.
Kaylee says Fred has a point. Donors should put stipulations on the payout.
Yeah, that actually is a good idea. Can you go back to that?
I can. First of all, somebody agreed with Fred, so that needs to be highlighted.
No. Donors should put stipulations on payout. Why aren't there? It's a contract. You can put stipulations on payout.
Because unless it's across the board, if Nebraska put a stipulation on...
No, because it goes through the 1890.
Well, I wasn't even thinking that, but if there started to be a stipulation, if I'm University A and I'm, this N.I.L deal has a stipulation and you're the player, like, they're not giving me a stipulation. I'm just going to go over there. Mm-hmm. Unless it was like, unless this became mandated, then there's all, it's not even an unfair advantage. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage by putting stipulations on there.
I see.
That's my, that's my.
Okay. So in most contracts, okay, you get like coaches contracts, for instance, you get X number of dollars. This is your base pay. If you meet this criteria, then you get this. Mm-hmm. Why can't that be the contract?
Incentive.
Yeah.
Performance-based incentive.
If you stay for the entire year and play in all the games, there you go.
I think that's just to borrow the language of the comment. That's less a stipulation, more an incentive. We'll base this N.I.L offer at this, and you see it a lot of times in the NFL. Obviously, this is pretty new to the NCAA, so you don't see it as much. But there have been, was it just this season that a coach sat a player in the NFL and prevented him from getting, a 15 sack, hitting some benchmark, and it cost him a couple $100,000, So I think that there's a way, here's your base pay, and you have performance bonuses. So.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Good point. Melissa says they need to play in a bowl game. That should be the stipulation. She's not wrong. We need these guys to meet a certain expectation, like old school Husker expectation. That's what I want. Yeah, break some arms. Do things like that.
Lord, no. Yeah. Kaylee's, saying the bonuses exist around most major contracts in various sports. It's an incentive, but also kind of a stipulation to the full payout. So, yeah, if you want to hit the 7-figure mark or whatever, again, that dollar being whatever it is, then, yeah, you better run for 1,000 yards or, whatever it is. But it's so much of that I think is out of the player's hands. The player can't, he can't, call 60% run plays,
They're not signing contract. Oh,
we
clicking on this? Craig Gifford says they're not signing contracts. That's the problem. It's true. They are not. I mean, okay, so overall, number one thing. But how do you get, it's really hard to hold. A lot of these kids are coming out of high school. So maybe they're 17, just turning 18. How do you hold an 18-year-old to a contract? You can't.
I don't know. I guess they can sign their letter of intent at age 17. And, then when they turn 18, presumably they're on campus before they're 18. That's when they can actually sign their N.I.L. deal. I don't know.
Okay. Maybe they shouldn't be able to get paid until they're 18 years old.
Then you run into that, Carl, I think, said, being put in trust until they graduate. So, no, Josh says in Nebraska, you can't sign a contract until 19. But my question to that, and maybe, Josh, you have the answer, maybe you don't. If they are from out of state, can they sign their deal at age 18 if they're from Minnesota, Texas, Florida, wherever? So.
Okay. That's an interesting comment.
It's a good conversation for sure. Thanks, Dr. Tom. Tom Osborne saying, or what we're all thinking, in that it's not a perfect system by any stretch of the imagination.
It wasn't designed for this.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. It was never designed to handle this. And so all this happened because of NIL. And then, we loosened the reins on the transfer portal, and we increased the amount of coaches you can have in football. And we got these huge contracts, TV contracts. So now there's so much money involved that there has to be other things, other rules.
Yeah.
But the NCAA is not equipped to handle it. So I'm glad that he said it, and I hope other people say it until we get some changes. So, okay. So I kind of like this comment too. Oh, whoops. Nope. You guys are commenting a lot. Thank you. best friend of the show, Josh Hansen, says, and the NCAA refused to take leadership because they knew they'd get sued. So they washed their hands of it and hoped the government would bail them out. It's because,
A good
they
point, Josh.
they get taken to court and their rulings get overturned. So the rules that they have in place can't even stand.
Right. I know, gosh, you got to go back 10 years, a dozen years, something like that. There was a running back from Northwestern who tried to unionize the team, and it just didn't work at all. Collective bargaining. And now, I mean, I can't remember his name, but he'd be thriving in this environment.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
But again, now it's going to be very difficult to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
It just has to be redone. Makeover time for college football.
Kaylee says, I don't mean to immediately agree with Nick Saban, but a measure of revenue sharing in conference employees might be part of the answer. My curiosity to that is, can you have SEC employees, play against Big Ten employees? Like, if you get hurt in the game and you're designated as a conference employee, then does the conference own the liability on that injury? I mean, it's a physical game. Like, we're only talking really football because that's the one that affects, but a lot of the Big Ten plays hockey. So it's I don't know.
Okay. I think, we again go back to let's separate football.
Yeah. Thank you, James. Yeah, Kane Coulter, and he was the quarterback. I said running back. My apologies. Northwestern. So.
Well, Greg.
Yes, Minnie?
We opened up a can of worms, as I knew we would. Are you okay with moving on to the next thing on the agenda?
I'm ready.
Okay, good. He's been working on this for a while, guys.
Oh, it's that time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can I go? Like, I have a prepared statement here.
Okay. Oh, this is so interesting. I said, do you guys know, normally I do everything for the show. And I said to Greg, I said, do you need me to help prepare anything for tonight? And he said, no, I'll let you know if I do. I heard nothing, which normally I always hear, would you mind if it's not too much? So let's see what you got.
All right. Fred says, oh, shit. Greg read Minnie's hostage statement for him. And the ransom note is all like letters cut from magazines. So, the entirety of what I'm about to, this discourse started. I don't get onto Instagram very often, but I happened to, and I saw a post by our friend and one-time regular or one-time co-host on this very show, Haas Reuter. And this was the image that Haas had on his story or whatever. So I'm going to drop this out for a few minutes. Rome wasn't built in a day, but they were laying bricks every hour. And first of all, I think the image used is tremendous, very artistic. I love the quote. We've heard for years, Rome wasn't built in a day. I never thought of that next line, but they were laying bricks every hour. In just a moment here, I'm going to take this image down and put up another. So this quote is attributed to James Clear. Now, James Clear is an author. He's a number one New York Times bestseller. And this is his book, Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. It says he's an American author. Come to find out, he was born in Ontario, Canada. I'm not going to hold that against him. I want to focus. Rome wasn't built in a day. They were laying bricks everywhere. So I actually wrote up this dissertation. So if you all will indulge me, I would love to share my thoughts. We are 2 years into the Matt Rhule era at Nebraska. We are entering our third offseason. We have survived player injuries, coaching staff changes, and we're all weathering the storm of the transfer portal and a name, image, likeness, N.I.L. In Rhule's first year, the Huskers finished 5-7. Nebraska finished 7-6 in 2024, achieving bowl eligibility and winning a game in a muddy arena of play. But in doing so, the team was awarded an coveted extra 15 practices. There is reason to celebrate. Matt Rhule has done this before. He did it at Temple. He did it at Baylor. He turns around struggling programs. We've seen him be less rigid in his approach. He knows he can't just go out, sign kids out of high school. He has to attack the portal, and he's done so successfully. Nebraska has compiled the conference's top transfer portal class with 15 acquisitions, including 5 four-star athletes, whom we heard about earlier tonight. That's also good for the 9th best transfer portal class in the country. Full disclosure, everybody, this is where things go off the rails a little bit. This is my hot take, my bold prediction. I think that Nebraska is in a much better position long-term than Alabama. I think recent success and brand recognition is on Alabama's side, but I also think that they will part ways with Kalen DeBoer before we would ever fire Matt Rhule. I'm not saying that DeBoer is a bad coach. I'm saying that if you think the expectations are high in Lincoln, you need to take a trip south of the Mason-Dixon line and head to Tuscaloosa, where they've won a championship or two this millennium. The Crimson Tide finished 9-4 this past year after playing in the national semifinal a year ago. 9-4 for Alabama is good enough for 6th in the SEC. That was behind Missouri. Missouri, right? We used to kick the snot out of the Tigers just for fun. And we know what shitbrick Steve Peterson did to Frank Solich, at firing him after a 9-win season back in 2003. Will Kalen DeBoer, whose resume includes a trip to the national championship also a year ago, be given enough time? That's my question. DeBoer was a 2-time Pac-12 Coach of the Year in his only 2 years in the Pac-12. But I don't know if he can duplicate the results of the Washington teams that he largely inherited. I feel like if he replicates the results of 2024, it likely means that DeBoer will be shown the door. But you're welcome.
That was horrible.
I'm
that
not
was
done
horrible.
yet.
Oh gosh.
Thank you. That was my dad pun. We as Nebraska fans must be more patient. We must remember that Rome was not built in a day, but the bricks were being laid at every hour. Okay, good. Picture's still up there. Matt Rhule must be given time, and I expect we'll see another leap from Nebraska in Rhule's 3rd year. The administration clearly thought Matt Rhule was the guy. That's why they backloaded his contract. His base salary of $5.5 million for the first year gradually increases. In 2030, Rhule's final year of his contract, he'll earn $12.5 million. Kalen DeBoer, on the other hand, made $10.25 million last year, barely finishing in the top half of the SEC.
How much?
$10.25 million. 10.25. All this to say, because it's a long off season, I might have to remind you all numerous times. I believe in Matt Rhule. I expect all of you Holgormaniacs to believe in him also, because Rome wasn't built in a day. Neither was Nebraska football.
Okay, so much to unpack here.
Oh,
Where do we start?
Bring it
Where
on.
do we start?
I'm very curious for all the
Well, your best friend, our best friend of the show, Josh Hansen, says 5th consecutive offseason natty too, baby. Is that what you're trying to do? Is pump us up for this?
No, I so often, and I think as a group, those of us who meet here on Thursday nights are pretty charitable. We're not hive mind. We definitely allow difference of opinions, a variety of opinions. But I think at the end of the day, we're relatively charitable, and we understand that you're not going to turn around the debacle that was the Scott Frost era in 1 year or 2 years. This is not Kurt Cignetti bringing, his entire coaching staff and half of his players from James Madison. This is Matt Rhule bringing in, admittedly at the time, Matt Rhule guys, but also now he's, after 2 years, he's, I don't want to say abandoned, but some of the guys have gone and he's brought in other guys. And I think
most of them have.
Yeah, I think we are better placed. I don't know if that's the best word I'm looking for, but we're in a better position now than we have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nebraska football future is very bright. And I just want everybody to share that enthusiasm. Like, again, if you want to be if you want to poop on the party, that's fine. You can do it. This is I hate to use the word safe space, but come here and vent your frustrations by all means. I just have a feeling that Nebraska is on an upward trajectory.
It is. Greg, I have to say, very good. Okay, Fred Sacco says, Pitt, it's Greg's Gregifesto. Okay? But apparently when I made the comment that I did, he also says, wow, Minnie just shat on Greg's Gregifesto. Totally on brand. I don't think I did that, did I?
It's Gregifesto shaming.
No, I thought you did a pretty good job.
I want to address this. It's been brought up a couple times tonight from various Holgormaniacs, and this is off topic. This is not relevant to the Gregifesto. Pitt says we'd be in the perfect place, but where's Raji? So I did email Raji earlier this week, and I've not heard back. So this is a community that is here for one another. I've experienced that. You all know, hopefully you all know that any thoughts you have, whether it's Nebraska athletics related or not, if you got if you're going through a time, a rough patch, you can, trust, send me an email, hooch3600@gmail.com. I love to visit with you about it. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a friend, so I don't know the appropriate level of concern that we should have. Justin's a grown man, but he's one of us, and he's usually here on Thursday nights, on Monday nights, and we haven't seen him in several weeks. So, I'm hoping for the best and not thinking about the worst, I guess is my thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. If anyone else can reach out to him, please do. Let him know we're thinking about him.
Yeah. So, where's Raji? So hopefully he's just walking around in jeans, a red and white striped shirt, and a red and white hat, ski cap, and some glasses, and we'll be like, "Where's Waldo? Where's Raji?" That's a bad joke. I'm full of bad jokes. But yeah, if you know how to make contact with him, tell him we're still here. We're thinking about him and hope that he's okay. So.
Okay. True. Okay. Greg. So
Minnie.
You said that, I just love, please read this.
DeDor, bring back 5 Heart Theater.
You guys.
Wait a minute.
It's coming back tonight. What?
Raji was on the DBK live stream today.
Oh, was he?
That's good. Okay. That means maybe he just doesn't like me anymore.
That's okay.
And I can handle that.
We don't have to be everyone's flavor. This is okay. That's all good. Thank you. Who said that?
Rostovsky.
Thank you, Rostovsky.
Thank you. That honestly, that makes my 5 Heart relax a little bit more. So
yeah. We worry about you guys, isn't it true?
We're a fan family, damn it.
Okay,
All right, so you
Greg.
want to talk about my Greg Festo?
Yeah, did you? Oh, I think that's all we were talking about. There isn't much more, unless you want to talk about it.
I mean, oh, fun show. I don't.
Melissa said she liked it.
Thanks, Melissa. But Minnie didn't, and that's okay.
It's not that I didn't. It's just Rhule has been saying this all along. Okay, it's not a newsflash, Greg.
It's not a newsflash, but it's a different perspective. It's not Matt Rhule saying, like, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm not Matt Rhule. So I don't. It's what I had on my mind again when I saw this graphic here, and I was inspired. I don't get inspired very often.
No, you don't. No,
you remember
That's
that
true.
This is the show that at one time it used to be myself and John, or myself and Haas and John jumping on Skype like 5-10 minutes before we were going to record, be like, what the hell are we talking about tonight? So the fact that I actually put effort into this, I think, I'm not asking for a pat on the back, but I just, let's not shit on it.
Okay, Aaron Rostovsky just went to Nate. I can't never say his last name. Bargatze. He's such a good comedian. I'm so jealous. How was he? He's like my favorite comedian. Okay.
He said, got to see him in a tiny club working on stuff for his big arena tour. So that's cool.
Oh,
I like those workshops.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
So where are we going next, Minnie?
Well, Greg, you know what it's time for.
What's it time for?
It's time for, you guys have been asking. Actually, I think they've been begging for it. I've heard it mentioned every single week since we stopped doing it. Since Christmas was the last time. Do you realize? You guys have not heard anything.
I thought we went out on such a high note.
No, we didn't.
Oh,
we
okay.
did not. No, this is a continuous thing.
No.
We're going to keep doing it. Okay. It's the 5 Heart Theater that I have been working on for weeks. Come on, please.
I'm ready. I am ready.
Right.
Welcome back to the 5 Heart Theater. I'm your host, Greg Mahochko, your resident Yingling enthusiast and self-proclaimed master of, let's just say, I'm skilled at making things slightly more confusing. Call it my signature move, Greggling. Yeah.
And I'm Minnie, the one who actually has her life put together. While Greg just fumbles around like a kicker who's got, issues.
Issues? I thought you were just a full-time not saying the word groin enthusiast.
Oh, come on, Greg. Why is it always about that area of a man or player every week? It's not like it's my fault our kicker has a penchant for unfortunate injuries.
Kicked in the groin in moist conditions. Sounds like a good night for most people. Wait, no, it doesn't. That sounds painful.
I can't even say MOIST. Can we just focus on the football instead of sensitive areas, please?
I'm going to need another beer for this. Fine. Just remember, if we're talking about injuries, your emotional fortitude is clearly... I didn't write this.
Okay. Do you not want to say it?
I said it.
Oh, okay. Right. We all know I've been following Dylan since he was 15. Basically, I'm his biggest fan, which is kind of weird, but not as weird as greggling about the kickers.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. Just imagine the Holgormaniacs having a drinking game every time you try and avoid saying something with "OI."
And spoiler alert, they're all plastered by the end of the first quarter.
To our wild Holgormaniacs, brother. Just remember, folks, if you can't handle the moistness, stay out of the cornfield.
Can we just please celebrate touchdowns instead?
Touchdowns it is. Let's dive into this week's lineup and leave all those unfortunate discussions in the moist underbelly of college football.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say, again, all writing credit goes to this individual right here. I had zero input. Oh.
It was good. It was good.
Aaron says it's not the best performance he's seen tonight, but again.
That's
can you
just
lead us,
me. Fred Sago says that theater made us all simultaneously. No, I can't. Oh my gosh. What did you just...
Good times. Kaylee, thank you so much for remembering. Just remember, it's a chewable.
Okay,
which means that it hits your system and works faster.
What is wrong with you? You have
Me?
issues. Yeah.
I didn't type it.
Gosh. Oh gosh.
But it's a chewable. So
You
the active
guys.
ingredients get activated in your bloodstream that much faster. In as little as 15 minutes, you can be ready to go. And I like to say, it arrives at your house in a discreet package, but there won't be anything discreet about your package.
What is wrong with these people?
I don't know, but God bless them.
Jeez, you guys, I put so much effort into this theater, and you want to hug him?
Good times.
Never gonna trust you again, ever.
Me?
Ever? No, never.
Why not?
Never. Because of what just happened.
Kayla's gonna start writing our Blue Chew copy. Those ads make you frothy in the loins in as little as 15 minutes. No, here we go. Can you say loins?
Greg, you're pushing it.
Wet, damp, humid, moist.
Mm.
Fred was poised. Said, I thoroughly enjoyed it, Minnie. I'm so poised after this one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You
guys, I thought it was a fun thing. Okay, can we just change the subject back to football?
New Chew! I love it. Oh, James Boardman, you're a dang genius.
He is, actually.
Get fully husked with New Chew. I love it. Oh, copyright that. Excellent. That might be that.
Okay.
You know what? That might be better than my Deborah Dador. Might be.
That's really good.
So.
That's really good. I do appreciate that.
All right, where here's the thing.
Yeah.
The Five Heart Theater it's a lot of fun, and we appreciate all of you who just kind of go along for the ride for the couple minutes and laugh with us.
Thank you.
That's all we're doing. We're just having fun. Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing that we have tonight, Greg, is there's going to be like some football thing going on this weekend. Maybe you heard about it.
Yeah, I did.
Do you want to talk about it, or should we just not?
I'm torn because I'm tired of the Chiefs. And look, I know that there are probably Chiefs fans watching this right now who are not tired of the Chiefs. But I think everybody, it's similar to the Patriots a few years ago. Like anytime there's a dominant run, we're just ready to watch them fall. I'm eager for them to fall. And it'd be kind of nice. Cam Jurgens, he was a Pro Bowl selection in his first year as a starter. I root for Cam Jurgens and the Philadelphia Eagles over the Chiefs. So,
Okay.
Rostovsky is apparently not a Chiefs fan.
Okay. Well,
do you have a take? Do you have do you have any action on the game? Got some money riding on one side or the other?
I could care less.
Will you even watch?
I mean, I might have it on in the background if I'm home. But, yep, right? That's it.
It's going to be me and the boys on Sunday night. So maybe I'll turn it on after they go to bed. I don't know. I don't even know what time the game's supposed to start in the Central Time Zone. Usually like 5:30 or 5:45, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. The NFL sucks. I agree.
Super Bowl kickoff time. That's what I'm looking for. Greggling right now. 5:30 p.m. All-time Central. So I was right. So let's, you know what? Oh, Kayla says, I love Cam. He's from my hometown. He serves chili and cinnamon buns to the Eagles. That's a Nebraska thing to do. I hope the Chiefs win.
So amazing.
Where are you at on this conspiracy theory about the referees helping the Chiefs and
I mean, it's probably not the case, but people I think it's interesting. I doubt it. But I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles they're not like a team that you're like, I mean, I guess obviously they're good enough to go to the Super Bowl, but they're not a team that you'd be like, oh, of course they're going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
But the Chiefs are. So it's kind of like, they're favored, whether people want to admit it or not.
Yeah, it makes me sad. Also,
Why?
not a whole lot I can do. Well, that they're favored. I mean, I get it. It's just every good story needs a hero and a villain. And the Chiefs are the new villains of the NFL. There's I don't know, just I guess dominance. But when so much of it is perceived to be, I don't know, advantages from outside resources, like there's just so much about like all these calls that should have been called or they weren't called or they were when they shouldn't have been, and obviously you have the head of the referees union coming out saying that's ludicrous and right, because nobody's going to, they can't sit back and say nothing. They have to refute it, and they can't sit back and be like, they're right, but I don't know. It's just, it's fun. It just smells funny. So I'm just over the spotlight being on Kansas City. They're from the worst part of Missouri, if I'm being honest. So yeah, I would
worst?
have to.
There's a good part.
Yeah, like St. Louis, gateway to the West.
That's a good part.
Lewis and Clark.
You know what I read about St. Louis? Crime.
Crime's down. They're falling on the national rankings.
I still wouldn't. No, it doesn't sound safe.
Well, that's fine. I drive through East St. Louis all the time. It's cool. Ride with me. You're cool. I know all the people.
Okay. Well, Greg, you stirred up some things. Do you want to address that?
In the starred comments, or?
Oh gosh, there's more. Yeah, do that, and I'll stir some of these.
Okay. Let's see. 902. Fred says Minnie bumps herself up. Number 1 Chatterfield / Holgormaniacs showrunner, head of Dylan Riola fan club. Well, we always knew she was the head of the Dylan Riola fan club. That's nothing new.
I am. Yeah. I'm not bumping myself. I am all those things. Oh.
Carl, we did address this a little bit. I think this is going to have to be its own show sometime, maybe after spring, where we can have a better idea of what our roster is going to look like heading into the summer and fall. But yeah, that was a great comment there. Will we edge toward 4-3 a little more with Butler at the helm? I would definitely say the 3-3-5. I don't want to say it's being abandoned. I do like some of the versatility of being able to drop down at a fourth down lineman. So will we edge towards 4-3 a little bit more? Yes, but I just be prepared for versatility. Kaylee said, hopefully Ty gets picked up 3rd or 4th round by the Chiefs, in the 3rd if he's lucky. Boo. But Browns or Steelers wouldn't surprise me in either the 3rd or 4th, respectively. Again, my thing is, if he goes to the Browns, I can't root for him ever.
What?
Because they're a rival of the Steelers. I can't do it. That's why I can't root for Cam Taylor-Britt. I love him. He's a wonderful human being by all accounts. I've never met him personally, but I cannot ever root for him. You know what? When he has an interception, if it's not against the Steelers, I'll say great play, but I can't. Yeah, I'm too entrenched in the Steelers fandom. Yes, Melissa said earlier, a new volleyball coach had her introduction today. Danny Busman Kelly, that's right. And I saw a video clip this morning. I'm sure it transpired over several days, but Ashley Spitznogel, the tremendous painter artist, had a wonderful painting done up already of John Cook and DBK and the passing of the torch. Really fantastic video there. So, talking about Mike Ekeler, BFOTS Josh Hansen says, I heard tons of amazing stories, but none about him and Bo clashing, most about him running a marathon on I-80 while the troopers picked him up.
That sounds awesome. So, yes, that's who we need. Greg, get your butt out there and run a marathon down I-80.
There were comments earlier about Thomas Fedoni turning and leaving his knee on the field. What do you think my knee would do? I'm twice his age, for crying out loud. In worse shape. Now, granted, I have my original knees, but they're operating at like 10 or 15% maximum. Fred says Osborne usually sees the future on this stuff, the advent of Big 12 and how it hurt us, the need to go to the Big 10, etc. So look at that. Fred didn't even have to give a disclaimer on that comment. That's tremendous.
Nope. Serious comment.
Haley said, one of these days, Greg will just be drinking a Cosmo. What's in a Cosmo? Is that a Cosmopolitan?
Yeah.
What's in a Cosmopolitan?
It must be gin because it's in a martini glass, right? And something fruity. I have no idea what.
That's not how you spell that. All right, let's find out here. Vodka, cranberry juice, triple sec, fresh lime juice.
Okay, that.
So never had a Cosmopolitan. So,
have you ever drinking anything out of a martini glass? I didn't think so.
No.
What about a wine goblet?
No, I don't think so. Well, let me take it back. When I was a minor, when I was a youth, I think maybe I had some like sparkling apple cider.
A ute. What about a champagne glass?
I had champagne.
Flute.
Yeah, I've had champagne before.
Okay.
But
champagne
and beer, not the champagne of beers, but champagne and beer, sort of my go-tos, I guess. So we'll find out. Hey, I'm going to be, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but about a month. Oh, not quite 2 months.
No, not yet. Not yet.
No?
Don't
Okay,
break it to him. You're going to go way too long.
Sorry. Okay. Big Ten.
We'll
SEC.
leave it. You know what? I have an idea. Let's break that news in a 5-heart theater.
No, because they won't believe it then. They'll think it's just a show.
They will.
All right. We'll have to put a disclaimer based on actual events. All right. James Borman says,
yes. It's all right. I just saw that. It was like I couldn't help it. Go ahead.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah. Sorry.
James Borman says, Big Ten, SEC, and the ACC. Call it the Big Sack. Somewhere, Fred is applauding that decision. Because his last name's Sacco.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry. And Pitt says it was a necessary thing done poorly. I don't know what that was in reference to at 10:01. Fred says we've survived Minnie taking over Greg's show, a theater performance, and Greg's graphic. So
they have survived a lot. These Holgormaniacs.
They're troopers, I'll tell you.
They went through combat for us.
Let's see. Carl says there were some very shaky calls of what the Chiefs went for the Chiefs, especially the 4th down run by Allen near the end of the game. Aaron Rostovsky says crime is down everywhere, but you wouldn't know it. Greg Mile is cool in East St. Louis. Ever seen Greg choke a bitch? Carl says Minnie Raiola.
I might change my last name. You never know.
Fred says, I hope Robinson doesn't go to the Steelers. They've sucked for years. Thank you, Fred. There's the baseball mention.
We'll talk about that again. I promise.
Tonight?
I'm going. No. I'm going to be going to the first game.
Oh.
So we'll talk about it next week.
By the way, as I'm almost done with the starred comments, there's 27 more comments on the live side. So hopefully, speaking of starred comments, James Boardman says star this comment.
Yes.
So we did. Thank you, James. And Carl says, Greg, you need to get an Iowa Hawkeye punching bag so you can beat the crap out of those stupid Hawkeyes. Buddy, if they make them, I've got on the other side of this brick wall is an unfinished portion. It's like where a washer and dryer is. I could hang a heavy bag back there. That'd be a great workout.
Oh my gosh.
Now I'm gonna look. I'm not gonna do it right now. I'll wait till after the show, but I'm gonna look and see if there's an Iowa Hawkeye punching bag. Kaylee says, honestly, I get that people hate the Chiefs. We are winners. Finally, if SD wins 8 in a row, people will grow a hate for them. People will always try to bring down those that stay on top. Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully they don't win. Saquon Barkley, it's his turn. It's his turn. Cam Jurgens, it's his turn. You know, there are 31 other teams in the NFL. Championships don't need to be hogged on the worst side of Missouri. So,
okay, Greg, you have put together a fantastic show tonight.
Me?
You, yes, you have. And I think we're almost 2 hours in, so are we good?
I think we have said all that needs to be said tonight. The good news is that we'll be back next week.
Mm-hmm.
Same Husker time, same Husker YouTube channel, Facebook, and X. Not Husker, but coordination. Anyway. So thank you, Brian, for joining us for the first quarter of the show. Thank you, all of you watching, interacting. You make this the best version of the show. And hey, it's a reason I come down to my basement every Thursday at 9:00 to hang out with all of you. Thank you. Thank you. I think Aaron Rostovsky for the update on Mr. Raji. Glad to know that he's upright and above ground. And I don't mean that in a morbid, dark way, but, just I'm glad that he's still out there on Husker YouTube. And if you track him down, tell him that we miss him. And he should come back here too, because we're a good bunch of people.
He knows it.
So, Minnie, thank you for all that you do for this show, for putting up with me and my crazy antics in my Greg Festo and a wonderful Five Heart Theater. Thank you so much for everything. And with that, everybody, it's time to close the show in the traditional way, which is for myself, Greg Mahachko, for my co-host, co-pilot, and great friend, Minnie Hunt. This is the Five Heart Podcast. We remind you each and every week that Five Heart is all the heart you need. Minnie?
And go big red.